Welcome to the Velvet Crown Tales.
Today's tale is called My Husband Brought His Mistress to the Ball, So I Kissed His Brother. The wedding celebration was already in full swing by the time Valera entered the ballroom. Music drifted beneath crystal chandeliers. Nobles filled the polished floor, their laughter carrying between marble columns wrapped in gold and white flowers. Everywhere she looked, people were smiling. Valera smiled too. She had been doing it all day. Orenvale stood beside her, handsome in white and gold, greeting guests with the effortless charm everyone expected from a prince. Anyone watching them would have believed they were happy. Then the ballroom doors opened, and Lady Maylies walked in. She wore crimson. Not soft rose, not burgundy. Crimson. The kind of colour a woman wore when she wanted to be seen. Conversations began to quiet around the room. Valera felt Orenvale change beside her before she even looked at him. His attention had already left her. Maylies moved through the crowd slowly, completely unbothered by the whispers following her. When she reached them, she lowered herself into a graceful curtsy. "Your Highness." Valera could not tell which one of them she meant. Orenvale smiled. It was the first genuine smile Valera had seen from him all day. "Maylies." He said her name softly. Too softly. Valera looked between them. Maylies finally turned toward her. "Princess." The title sounded almost mocking. "Lady Maylies," Valera replied. Neither woman looked away. Then Orenvale offered Maylies his hand. "Dance with me." Valera stared at him. For a moment, she genuinely believed she had misheard. "Orenvale." He glanced at her. "It's only a dance. At our wedding." His expression hardened slightly. "Must we make everything into a scene?" Valera almost laughed. She had not made the scene. He had. But half the court was already pretending not to listen. So she stepped aside. "Of course." Maylies placed her hand in Orenvale's. As he led her onto the dance floor, Valera remained alone beside the throne dais. The music continued. People danced. People drank. And everyone watched. She could feel their pity. That was worse than their gossip. Across the ballroom, Orenvale placed one hand against Maylies' waist. Too low. Too familiar. Maylies leaned closer to him and whispered something. Orenvale laughed. Valera lowered her eyes. "Your husband has poor timing." She froze. Thurin stood beside her. She had not heard him approach. He wore black and silver instead of the white and gold favoured by his brother. Against the brightness of the ballroom, he looked almost out of place. Or perhaps everyone else did. Valera kept her eyes on the dancers. "You should not say things like that." "Why?" "Because he is your brother. That does not make him less of a fool." She looked at him then. Thurin was watching Orenvale. Not her. His expression was controlled, but she noticed the tension in his jaw. Valera folded her hands in front of herself. "I don't need rescuing. I didn't offer." That irritated her. She turned fully toward him. "Then why are you here?" His eyes met hers. For the first time that evening, Valera forgot the room around them. 3 years disappeared far too easily. Thurin looked at her exactly the way he used to. As though there were words sitting between them, neither of them was willing to say. "I came to congratulate you," he said. "That sounds convincing." A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. There it was. The expression she remembered. Valera hated how quickly it made something inside her ache. "You look beautiful," he said. Her breath caught. She immediately looked away. You shouldn't say that either. Wise. You know wise. This time Thurin said nothing. Across the ballroom the music ended. Applause followed. Valera watched Maylis keep her hand on Orenvale's arm, even after the dance was over. Orenvale did not remove it. Then Maylis leaned toward him and kissed his cheek. Not accidentally. Not politely. Slowly. The entire court saw. Valera's stomach twisted. Orenvale smiled. Something inside her went cold. She turned and walked away. Valera. She ignored Thurin. She crossed the ballroom, pushed through the doors leading onto the western terrace, and kept walking until the music became muffled behind her. Cold night air touched her face. Only then did she realize she had been holding her breath. She gripped the stone railing. She would not cry. She refused. A moment later, the doors opened behind her. Valera closed her eyes. If you've come to tell me again that your brother is a fool, I already know. Thurin stopped beside her. I was going to say something much worse. Despite herself, Valera laughed. Just once. Quietly. Then her expression fell again. This was supposed to save my family. Thurin said nothing. I knew he didn't love me, she continued. I wasn't foolish enough to expect that. She looked back through the glass doors. Orenvale and Maylis were still together. But I thought he might at least respect me. Thurin's voice lowered. He should. Valera looked at him. There was anger in his eyes now. Not pity. Somehow that was easier to bear. What happened to you? She asked. Thurin frowned. You left. The words came out before she could stop them. Silence. Valera immediately regretted saying it. She looked toward the gardens. You left for 3 years. I was ordered to the northern front. I know. Then what are you asking me? She swallowed. Why didn't you write? Why didn't you tell me what I meant to you? Why did you come back only after I had promised myself to someone else? She said none of those things. Instead she whispered, nothing. Thurin studied her for a long moment. Then the terrace doors opened again. Orenvale. Valera turned. Maylis stood in the doorway. She stopped when she saw Thurin. Then Valera. A slow smile crossed her face. Those. Valera straightened. Maylis's eyes moved between them. I hope I'm not interrupting. You are, Thurin said. Valera looked at him sharply. Maylis's smile tightened. The prince is looking for his wife. Valera glanced toward the ballroom. How thoughtful of him. Maylis stepped closer. He becomes bored quickly. Thurin's expression darkened. Valera, however, smiled. Then you should hurry back inside before he finds someone more interesting. For the first time that evening, Maylis had no answer. Valera walked past her. Thurin followed. And as they returned to the ballroom together, whispers began before they had even crossed the doorway. Valera heard them. So did Thurin. Neither said a word. But across the room, Orenvale saw them enter side by side. And the smile disappeared from his face. The whispers followed Valera long after the music ended. By morning, half the palace had already decided what they had seen. Some said Crown Prince Thurin had followed her onto the terrace. Others claimed they had returned together too closely. A few had apparently decided they were already lovers. Valera learned all of this before breakfast. Her new maid, Tessa, had tried very hard not to tell her. That had only made Valera more suspicious. So, Valera said, sitting before the mirror while Tessa pinned her hair, how scandalous am I this morning? Tessa froze. My lady. Princess, Valera corrected absently. Tessa went pale. Valera sighed. I'm joking. Tessa looked relieved for exactly 1 second. Though apparently the court is not. Valera met her eyes through the mirror. Tell me. The maid hesitated. They're saying His Highness was angry. Orenvale. Tessa nodded. That would require him to care. Valera rose from her chair. She had barely slept. Orenvale had not come to their chambers after the celebration. Not that she had expected him to. She had spent her wedding night alone. Some brides would have been devastated. Valera had been relieved. A knock sounded at the door. Before she could answer, it opened. Orenvale walked in. Tessa immediately curtsied. Valera stared at him. You know, most people wait until they're invited. This is my chamber too. Valera looked around. Interesting, I hadn't noticed. His mouth tightened. Tessa, leave us. The maid glanced at Valera. Valera nodded. Once the door closed, Orenvale turned toward her. What happened last night? Valera blinked. You'll need to be more specific. It was a very eventful wedding. With my brother. There it was. Valera folded her arms. Nothing happened. You disappeared with him. I went outside alone. He followed you. That sounds like something you should discuss with Thurin. Orenvale stepped closer. You came back together. Valera almost laughed. You danced with your mistress at our wedding. His eyes hardened. And, for a moment, Valera simply stared at him. And, Melis was invited. You invited her. Yes. Valera felt something twist inside her. Not heartbreak. Anger. You invited your lover to our wedding. Orenvale exhaled impatiently. Do not call her that. What would you prefer? He looked away. That was answer enough. Valera moved past him toward the window. You have nothing to fear from Thurin. I'm not afraid of my brother. Then why are you here? Silence. Valera turned. Orenvale was watching her differently now. Coldly. Possessively. You are my wife. The words irritated her more than they should have. And Melis. His expression changed. That is none of your concern. Valera laughed. A short, humorless sound. Your mistress is none of your wife's concern. Keep your voice down. No. He stared at her. Valera stepped closer. You humiliated me in front of the entire court. You brought her into our wedding celebration. You touched her as though I wasn't standing 10 feet away. Orenvale's jaw tightened. And now you come into my room because I spoke to your brother. That was not merely speaking. What was it then? His eyes narrowed. I know how Thurin looks at you. The room became very still. Valera's pulse changed. She forced herself not to show it. You're imagining things. No. Orenvale moved closer. I'm not. Valera held his gaze. Then something occurred to her. Something that made her stomach drop. You knew. Orenvale did not respond. Valera studied him. You knew Thurin and I had been close before the war. Still nothing. Orenvale. He smiled faintly. Not kindly. I know my brother better than you think. The realization made her skin go cold. You knew before the marriage. Yes. Valera stared at him. Then why agree to marry me? His smile disappeared. Because father ordered it. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. He turned toward the door. Valera stopped him. Does Maylis know? Orenvale paused. Know what? That you married a woman your brother once cared for. His expression hardened. Do not flatter yourself. The words landed exactly where he intended. Valera went silent. Orenvale opened the door, then glanced back. And stay away from Thurin. Valera's anger returned instantly. You don't get to command that. I am your husband. And apparently only when it suits you. His hand tightened around the door handle. For one moment she thought he might say something crueler. Instead he left. Valera stood alone. Only after the door closed did she realize her hands were shaking. She avoided the royal family for the rest of the morning. By afternoon, the palace walls felt unbearable. Valera escaped into the eastern gardens. The air was cool and bright. White roses climbed the stone arches, and fountains murmured beneath trees just beginning to turn gold. She walked until she reached the old glass house. It had been abandoned years ago. Few people came there now, which was precisely why she liked it. Valera pushed open the heavy door. Warm air surrounded her. Most of the plants had overgrown their beds. Ivy crawled across cracked stone. Wildflowers had taken over the old pathways. For the first time all day, she felt like she could breathe. You always did hide here. Valera stopped. Thurin stood near one of the broken windows. Of course he did. She closed her eyes. Is there anywhere in this palace you won't find me? Possibly the kitchens. She looked at him. He was dressed more simply today. Black trousers, dark boots, a charcoal coat with silver clasps. No crowns. No armor. He looked more like the man she remembered. That was dangerous. You shouldn't be here, she said. Neither should you. I was here first. Thurin glanced around. I've been here for an hour. Valera frowned. Then you should have announced yourself. You looked angry. I am angry. I noticed. She walked past him. Thurin followed slowly. Was it Orenvale? Valera stopped. You already know. Probably. Then don't ask. He was quiet. Valera reached the old fountain in the center of the glass house. It had been dry for years. She sat on its edge. He told me to stay away from you. Thurin's expression changed. Valera immediately regretted telling him. That sounds like Orenvale. He also said he knew. Knew what? Valera looked at him. About us. Thurin went very still. There was no us. The words hurt more than she expected. Valera looked away. No, there was. Thurin took a step closer. That isn't what I meant. Then what did you mean? He exhaled. That nothing happened. Exactly. Her voice sharpened. Nothing happened because you left. His eyes met hers. I had orders. You could have written. I did. Valera froze. What? Thurin frowned. I wrote to you. She stared at him. No, you didn't. Yes. How many times? He hesitated. More than I should have. Valera stood. I never received a single letter. Now Thurin looked confused. I sent them through the royal courier. Then they never reached me. Silence. Something uneasy passed between them. Valera's mind returned to Orenvale. I know my brother better than you think. No. That was impossible. Wasn't it? Thurin moved closer. What are you thinking? Nothing. Valera. She looked up at him. They were standing too close. Neither moved. Thurin's voice softened. I wrote because I thought about you every day. Her breath caught. She should have stepped away. She didn't. Don't what? Say things now that you should have said 3 years ago. His jaw tightened. You think I don't know that? Valera's eyes burned. I waited for you. The confession escaped before she could stop it. Thurin stared at her. She swallowed. 4 months. He looked almost wounded. Valera. No. She stepped back. I won't do this. Do what? Become the woman everyone already thinks I am. Thurin's expression hardened. You are not doing anything wrong. I am married to your brother. I'm aware. And you. She stopped. And I what? Valera looked at him. Thurin waited. The distance between them suddenly felt very small. Too small. She wanted to tell him. You look at me like you still love me. Instead, she whispered, you make this difficult. Something changed in his face. Thurin took one slow step toward her. Valera's heart began pounding. He lifted his hand. For one terrifying second, she thought he was going to touch her. Then voices sounded outside the glass house. They both stepped apart. The door opened. Maylis entered. Her eyes immediately moved from Valera to Thurin. Then back again. A smile slowly appeared. Well, Valera's stomach sank. Maylis closed the door behind her. This is becoming a habit. Maylis's smile was far too satisfied. Valera straightened immediately. Thurin did not. If anything, he looked annoyed that Maylis had interrupted them. You seem disappointed, Valera said. Maylis stepped farther into the glass house. Should I be? You tell me. Her gaze moved to Thurin. I was looking for Prince Orenvale. Then you've come to the wrong place, Thurin said. Maylis gave him a sweet smile. I gathered that. Valera had no patience for whatever game she was playing. She moved toward the door. Maylis shifted slightly into her path. Leaving so soon? Yes. What a shame. Valera stopped. Was there something you wanted? Maylis lowered her voice. Only to offer a little advice. I didn't ask for any. Most women don't. Thurin stepped forward. Maylis. She ignored him. Palaces survive on appearances, princess. Her eyes dropped briefly to Valera's wedding ring. And yours are becoming complicated. Valera stared at her. You danced with my husband at my wedding. Maylis's smile barely changed. And you kissed him on the cheek. You followed him around the ballroom like a woman afraid he might remember he has a wife. That wiped some of the amusement from Maylis's face. Thurin turned away slightly, hiding what looked suspiciously like a smile. Maylis noticed. Her expression sharpened. You think this is amusing? No, Thurin said. Then he looked at Valera. Not entirely. Valera almost smiled. Almost. Maylis folded her arms. You may want to be careful, princess. Valera stepped closer. With what? With giving people reasons to talk. Her gaze flicked toward Thurin. There it was. The threat. Small enough to deny. Clear enough to understand. Valera felt anger rise slowly inside her. You've mistaken me for someone frightened of gossip. You should be. And you've mistaken yourself for someone whose opinion matters to me. Maylis's smile disappeared. Valera walked past her. This time Maylis did not stop her. But just before Valera reached the door, Maylie spoke again. "Does Orenvale know you meet his brother in private?" Valera stopped. Thurin's expression changed. Valera looked over her shoulder. "We weren't meeting." "Of course not." Maylie's smile returned. "I'm sure that distinction will matter very much when I tell him." Thurin crossed the distance between them. "Don't." The single word filled the glass house. Maylie's looked up at him. "Is that an order?" "Yes." Valera stared at Thurin. That was not helpful. Maylie's eyes brightened immediately. "How interesting." Maylie's, Valera said. She turned toward her. "Tell Orenvale whatever you like." Thurin frowned. Valera continued. "Tell him I was here. Tell him Thurin was here. Tell him we spoke about the weather if it entertains you." Maylie's watched her carefully. "But make certain you also tell him exactly how you found us." "And how was that?" "Standing several feet apart." Silence. Valera smiled. "Unfortunately for you, scandal requires slightly more effort." Then she left. Thurin caught up with her halfway through the garden. "You shouldn't have challenged her." Valera kept walking. "She challenged me." "That is what Maylie's does." "Then she should choose easier opponents." "Valera." She stopped. Thurin nearly walked into her. She turned. "What?" His irritation vanished the moment he saw her expression. "You're shaking." "I'm angry." "I know." "No, you don't." She lowered her voice. "She walks through this palace as though she belongs here more than I do." Thurin looked toward the glass house behind them. "Orenvale allows it." "Yes." "He shouldn't." "Yes." "And you shouldn't have to fight her alone." Valera's eyes narrowed. "I thought we established that I don't need rescuing." "I'm beginning to think you enjoy reminding me." "I do." That finally made him smile. "A real one." It disappeared almost as quickly. "Be careful with Maylie's." "Why?" "She collects secrets." Valera frowned. "What does that mean?" "Exactly what it sounds like. You make her sound like a spy. Sometimes there isn't much difference between a mistress and a spy at court." Valera considered that. "Does Orenvale know?" "He knows what he wants to know." "That sounds like a very diplomatic way of calling your brother an idiot." "It was." She laughed. This time she couldn't stop it. Thurin looked at her. The laugh died slowly. There it was again. That silence. The dangerous kind. Valera looked away first. "I should go." "I know." Neither moved. Then footsteps approached from the path. Thurin stepped back. A palace guard rounded the hedge and bowed. "Princess Valera." "Yes." "His Majesty requests your presence." Her stomach tightened. "Now." "Yes, Your Highness." Valera looked at Thurin's. His expression had become unreadable. She turned back to the guard. "Lead the way." King Corvalan did not summon people casually. Valera understood that before she reached his private council chamber. 2 guards opened the doors. The king sat at the head of a long table. Orenvale was already there. So was Maylie's. Valera stopped. Maylie's had beaten her there. Of course she had. "Valera," the king said. "Your Majesty." She curtsied. "Sit." Valera took the chair opposite Orenvale. He would not look at her. That immediately worried her. King Corvalan dismissed the guards. Then silence settled over the room. "I dislike rumors," he said. Valera's heart sank. He continued. They move faster than armies and cause nearly as much damage. Melis kept her gaze lowered. Perfectly innocent. Valera wanted to throw something at her. Corvelin looked directly at Valera. I have heard several concerning things since last night. Valera kept her voice calm. About me. About you and my eldest son. Orenvale finally looked at her. There was satisfaction in his eyes. Valera saw it. And suddenly understood. This was not jealousy. Not entirely. He wanted her embarrassed. Perhaps even frightened. She sat straighter. Then you heard lies. The king's brow lifted. Did Thurin follow you onto the terrace? Yes. Were you alone together? For several minutes. Were you alone with him again today? Valera glanced at Melis. Melis smiled faintly. Yes. Orenvale leaned back in his chair. King Corvelin's expression hardened. Valera continued before he could speak. By coincidence. Twice. The palace is large, Your Majesty, but apparently not large enough. Orenvale scoffed. Valera looked at him. Do you have something to say? Yes. Then say it. His face darkened. You embarrass me. Valera stared at him. For several seconds, she genuinely thought she had misheard. You brought Melis to our wedding. Melis stiffened. Orenvale leaned forward. This isn't about her. It is absolutely about her. Enough, Corvelin said. Silence fell. The king looked between them. This marriage was not arranged for either of your amusement. Valera swallowed her anger. It was arranged to save my family. And strengthen this kingdom. Corvelin's voice softened slightly. You understood the expectations. Yes. Then behave accordingly. The words hurt. Not because they surprised her. Because she suddenly understood exactly what was expected of her. Tolerance. Silence. Obedience. Orenvale could humiliate her publicly. But if she spoke privately with another man, she became the problem. Valera looked at the king. And what is expected of your son? Orenvale turned sharply toward her. Corvelin's expression became still. Valera knew she should stop. She didn't. Must he also behave accordingly? Valera. Orenvale's voice carried a warning. She ignored him. Or does marriage only require loyalty from the wife? Melis looked down. Corvelin studied Valera for a long moment. Then he turned to Orenvale. Melis will leave the palace. Everyone froze. Orenvale stood. Father. Sit. He did. Barely. Melis went pale. Corvelin continued. You have created enough embarrassment. She has done nothing. She attended your wedding. I invited her. That was your first mistake. Orenvale's jaw clenched. And your second was giving the entire court reason to believe you preferred her company to your wife. Valera looked at Corvelins. She had not expected this. Not at all. Melis finally spoke. Your Majesty, I never intended. You will leave before sunset. Her face hardened. Yes, Your Majesty. She rose. As she passed Valera, their eyes met. There was no smile now. Only hatred. Then she left. Orenvale stood immediately. If she leaves, so do I. Corvelin looked tired. You're a prince, not a child. I love her. The room went silent. Valera looked at him. Orenvale seemed to realize what he had said only after the words were already out. But he did not take them back. Valera felt something unexpected. Not heartbreak. Relief. There it was. The truth. Finally. King Corvellan looked furious. You married Valera yesterday. I never wanted the marriage. Valera's fingers curled against her dress. Corvellan stood. Enough. Orenvale turned toward Valera. For the first time, something almost apologetic crossed his expression. Almost. Then he followed Maylis out. The doors slammed behind him. Valera remained seated. She felt strangely numb. King Corvellan sighed. I apologize for my son. Valera looked down. Which one? Silence. Her eyes widened. She had not meant to say that aloud. Then something happened she never expected. King Corvellan laughed. Once. Quietly. Valera looked at him. He sat again. You are going to be trouble. So I've been told. His expression became serious. Stay away from Thurin. The warmth vanished immediately. Valera said nothing. Corvellan leaned back. Orenvale is careless, Thurin is not. I don't understand. You will. He dismissed her. Valera spent the remainder of the afternoon thinking about those words. Orenvale is careless. Thurin is not. By nightfall, rain had begun striking the palace windows. Valera sat alone in her chamber, reading the same page of a book for nearly 20 minutes. A knock came at the door. Tessa. No answer. Another knock. Valera stood. She opened the door. No one was there. Only an envelope on the floor. Her name was written across it. Valera. Nothing else. She picked it up. The paper was old. Not recently old. Years old. Her pulse quickened. She broke the seal. Inside was a letter. She recognized the handwriting immediately. Thurin. Valera stopped breathing. The date at the top was almost 3 years earlier. She read the first line. Valera. I have rewritten this letter 7 times because every version sounds like a confession. Her hand began to shake. She kept reading. Perhaps that is because it is one. Valera read the letter 3 times. Then a 4th. Each time the words seemed to hurt more. Valera. I have rewritten this letter 7 times because every version sounds like a confession. Perhaps that is because it is one. Her fingers tightened around the paper. Rain tapped softly against the windows. The room felt too quiet. She kept reading. I do not know what waits for me in the north. I do not know how long I will be gone. But I know I could not leave without telling you that the summer we shared meant more to me than I ever allowed myself to say. Valera stopped. Her chest tightened. She could barely breathe. I think I began falling in love with you the night you laughed at me for pretending not to know how to dance. A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. Then kept reading. I should have kissed you beneath the flowering tree. Her lips parted. The memory hit her so sharply that for a moment she was there again. Lanterns glowing in the garden. Thurin's hand around hers. His face so close. Her heart pounding. Then the moment breaking apart. She had spent years wondering whether she had imagined what had passed between them. She had not. I should have told you before now. If I return, I will. And if I do not, I hope at least this letter reaches you so that you know there was someone in this world who loved you more deeply than he had any right to. Valera lowered the letter. Her vision blurred. 3 years. 3 years believing he had left without caring enough to write. 3 years convincing herself she had imagined everything between them. And now this. A letter that should have reached her long before she ever agreed to marry Orenvale. Her eyes dropped to the faded seal. It had been broken before. Valera froze. She brought the paper closer. The wax was cracked. Not freshly. Long ago. Someone had opened it. Her heartbeat quickened. A knock sounded. Valera almost dropped the letter. She folded it quickly. Who is it? Tessa. Valera exhaled. Come in. Her maid entered carrying a tray. The moment she saw Valera's face, she stopped. Princess. I'm fine. Tessa looked at the tears on her cheeks. You don't look fine. Valera almost laughed. Instead, she held up the letter. Who left this outside my door? Tessa frowned. I don't know. You didn't see anyone? No. Did one of the guards? I can ask. Valera nodded. Tessa placed the tray down, then hesitated. What is it? Valera looked at the letter. A mistake that arrived 3 years late. She did not sleep. By sunrise, she had made a decision. Thurin needed to see the letter. More importantly, she needed answers. Valera dressed before the palace fully woke. She chose a dark green gown and tied her hair back herself, refusing Tessa's help. Then she slipped into the corridor. The royal apartments were quiet. Most of the servants had not yet begun their morning duties. Thurin's rooms were in the eastern wing. Valera knew that. She hated that she knew that. She reached his door and stopped. This was ridiculous. She was a married woman, standing outside another man's bedroom before sunrise. If anyone saw her... The door opened. Valera nearly jumped. Thurin stood there. His shirt was only half buttoned. His hair was dishevelled. Valera stared. He stared back. Neither spoke. Finally Thurin said, "This is unexpected." Valera looked away. Put on a coat. A faint smile appeared. You came to my rooms, and now you're offended by my lack of clothing. I am not offended. You're staring at the wall. I like the walls. His smile widened. Valera. Coat. He laughed quietly and stepped aside. Come in. She hesitated. Thurin noticed. His expression softened. The door can stay open. That somehow made it worse. No. She stepped inside and shut it. Thurin raised an eyebrow. Valera immediately regretted it. Don't. I didn't say anything. You were about to. He pulled on a dark coat. Valera finally looked at him. Then she removed the letter from inside her sleeve. Thurin's face changed immediately. Where did you get that? So it's yours. He stepped closer. Yes. You wrote it to me. Yes. 3 years ago. His eyes stayed on the paper. Yes. Valera held it out. It was outside my door last night. Thurin went still. What? You heard me. He took the letter. His fingers moved over the broken seal. His expression darkened. This was opened. I noticed. Thurin looked at her. I sealed this before I left. Valera folded her arms. Then someone intercepted it. His jaw tightened. Yes. Who? I don't know. Someone knew enough to give it back now. Thurin looked toward the window. Valera watched his face. You sent more than one. Yes. How many? He hesitated. 7. Her heart sank. 7. I stopped after the 7th when you never answered. Valera stared at him. I never received any of them. I know that now. She looked down. You thought I ignored you. For a while. And then. Thurin gave a bitter laugh. And then I thought you had made your choice. What choice? Orenvale. Valera's head snapped up. I wasn't even promised to him then. No. Thurin turned toward her. But 6 months after I left, I received a letter from the palace. From who? Orenvale. Her stomach dropped. Thurin continued. He said you had become close. Valera went cold. He lied. I know that now. What exactly did he say? Thurin hesitated. Thurin. He said you had decided waiting for a soldier was foolish. Valera's face went pale. He said you were considering a future with him. That never happened. I believe you. He knew. Thurin looked at her. Valera stepped back slowly. He knew about us. We never had an us. Stop saying that. Her voice cracked. Thurin fell silent. Valera pressed a hand to her forehead. He intercepted your letters. We don't know that. He wrote to you. That doesn't prove. He married me. Thurin went still. Valera looked at him. He married a woman he knew his brother loved. Silence. And yesterday he told me he knew how you looked at me. Thurin's expression hardened. He said that. Yes. Valera swallowed. What if this was never just about father ordering him to marry me? Thurin looked away. She could see him thinking. Then he said quietly, Orenvale has always hated losing. Valera frowned. Losing what? Anything. To you. Thurin gave her a humorless smile. Especially to me. The truth settled heavily between them. Valera looked at the letter in his hand. So what now? Thurin met her eyes. We find the other letters. How? The royal courier records. You think they still exist? If the letters entered the palace, there will be documentation. And if they were intercepted before then we find out who had access. Valera nodded slowly. Then Thurin looked at her differently. The anger left his face. His voice softened. You read it. It was not a question. Valera looked away. Yes. All of it. Yes. Silence. Her pulse quickened. She suddenly became painfully aware of where she was. Inside his room. Alone. At sunrise. With the door closed. Thurin took one step toward her. Valera. She lifted her eyes. You meant it. His expression changed. Every word. Her breath caught. She should leave. She knew she should leave. Instead she whispered, Do you still? Thurin stopped. Valera immediately regretted asking. You don't have to answer. Yes. The word came too quickly. Too certain. Her heart pounded. Thurin moved closer. Yes, he repeated. Valera's eyes burned. You can't say that. You asked me. I shouldn't have. No. He was close enough now that she could see the exhaustion beneath his eyes. But you did. Valera swallowed. I'm married. I knows. To your brother. I knows. You should hate me for asking. I could never hate you. That almost broke her. She stepped back. Thurin reached for her instinctively. His fingers closed around her wrist. Both of them froze. He loosened his grip immediately. But he did not let go. Valera looked down at his hand, then up at him. For several seconds neither moved. Thurin's thumb brushed once against her skin. Barely. A tiny movement. It felt more dangerous than a kiss. A knock shattered the moment. "Your Highness." They sprang apart. Thurin turned toward the door. "Yes." A guard spoke from outside. "Prince Orenvale is asking for Princess Valera." Valera's stomach dropped. Thurin looked at her. "Does he know I'm here?" The guard hesitated. "I believe so, Your Highness." Silence. Then another voice sounded from the corridor. "Orenvale's." "Oh, I know." Valera went cold. The door handle began to turn. The door opened before Valera could move. Orenvale stood in the doorway. His gaze went first to Thurin, then to Valera, then to the letter in her hand. Silence stretched between them. Valera felt her heartbeat in her throat. Orenvale's face changed. Not shock. Recognition. Thurin noticed it too. "You know this letter," Valera said. Orenvale looked at her. "I know what it is." Valera went cold. Thurin stepped forward. "What did you do?" Orenvale's expression hardened. "Careful." "No." Thurin's voice dropped. "What did you do with her letters?" "My letters," Valera corrected quietly. Neither brother looked away from the other. Orenvale entered the room and shut the door behind him. Valera did not like that. "At all." "Orenvale," she said. He looked at her. "You intercepted them." It was not a question anymore. His jaw tightened. "That is quite an accusation. You recognized the letter before I said anything." Silence. Valera's stomach turned. Thurin took another step toward him. "How many?" Orenvale laughed once. "You think you can interrogate me?" "How many?" "You always were dramatic." Thurin grabbed him by the front of his coat. Valera gasped. "Orenvale." Thurin shoved him against the door. "Answer me." Orenvale's expression turned vicious. "Or what?" Valera stepped between them. "Stop." Neither listened. Thurin. He finally looked at her. "Please." His grip loosened. Orenvale straightened his coat. Then smiled. That smile made Valera's blood run cold. "You want the truth?" "Yes." She held his gaze. "Then give it to me." Orenvale looked toward the letter. "I took the first one." Valera stopped breathing. Thurin went completely still. Orenvale continued. "I didn't plan to." Valera stared at him. "It arrived while father was away. The courier handed it to one of my attendants by mistake." "And you opened it?" "Yes." "You read it?" "Yes." The room felt smaller. Valera could hear the rain outside. Every drop. Every breath. What did it say? Orenvale looked at Thurin's. "Enough." Valera's chest tightened. "What did you do with it?" "I burned it." Thurin moved. Valera caught his arm. "No." He looked at her. "Not yet." His breathing was heavy. Orenvale noticed. That faint smile returned. "You always did hate losing." Thurin's eyes darkened. "This isn't a game." "To you, maybe." Valera looked at Orenvale. "And the others." His expression shifted. That was all the answer she needed. "You took all of them." He said nothing. You took every letter he sent me. Orenvale looked away. Valera felt something inside her break. Not loudly. Quietly. Completely. Why? Orenvale's jaw tightened. You want to know why? Yes. He looked at her then. For the first time there was something raw in his face. Because he had everything. Thurin frowned. Orenvale. Everything. His voice rose. The crown, father's approval, the generals, the court, every room he walked into, people looked at him like he was already king. Thurin's expression hardened. That had nothing to do with Valera. It had everything to do with her. Valera's stomach twisted. Orenvale pointed at Thurin. You left for war and still somehow she looked at you like no one else existed. Valera stared at him. You knew. I saw you. His voice was bitter. That summer. Thurin's face changed. Orenvale continued. The gardens, the dances, the way you disappeared every time he entered a room. Valera's cheeks burned. You watched us. I noticed. He gave a humorless laugh. It was difficult not to. Thurin's voice became dangerously quiet. So you stole my letters because you were jealous. Orenvale looked at him. Yes. No hesitation. No apology. The honesty was almost worse. Valera swallowed. And then, Orenvale's eyes returned to hers. The letters stopped. You made them stop. Yes. And you wrote to Thurin. Yes. You lied about me. Silence. Orenvale. Yes. Valera closed her eyes. Her hand dropped from Thurin's arm. She suddenly felt exhausted. You told him I had chosen you. I told him what he needed to hear. What you needed him to hear. Orenvale said nothing. Valera laughed quietly. There was no humor in it. You stole 3 years from us. The words hung in the room. Thurin looked at her. Orenvale did too. Valera realized what she had said. She didn't take it back. Orenvale's expression changed. So there is an us. Valera looked at him. There could have been. That landed. For the first time, Orenvale looked wounded. Good. Valera hated herself slightly for thinking it. But only slightly. Orenvale looked toward Thurin. And now, Thurin's jaw tightened. That is none of your concern. Orenvale laughed. She is my wife. Valera stepped forward. Do not use that word like a chain. His eyes snapped to her. You married me. I married you because my family was desperate. And you said yes. Yes. Valera's voice sharpened. I said yes because I thought the man I loved had forgotten me. Silence. Thurin stared at her. Orenvale's face went pale. Valera felt the words only after they were spoken. The man I loved. Not cared for. Not once loved. Loved. Thurin's eyes softened. Valera could not look at him. Orenvale could. He looked between them slowly. Then something ugly entered his expression. Still. Valera froze. Thurin spoke first. Enough. No. Orenvale stepped closer. I want to hear her answer. Valera's pulse quickened. Orenvale. Do you still love him? Thurin looked at her. Valera wished he wouldn't. She wished everyone would stop looking at her. She could lie. She should lie. It would make everything easier. Instead, she said nothing. Orenvale laughed. Quietly. Bitterly. That's what I thought. He turned toward the door. Thurin stopped him. You're going to father. Orenvale looked over his shoulder. Maybe. You tell him what happened here and you tell him everything. Orenvale's mouth tightened. The letters, your lies, all of it. And if I do. Thurin stepped closer. I will. Orenvale studied him. Then Valera. Something calculating passed behind his eyes. Fine. He opened the door. Valera exhaled. Then Orenvale stopped. There is one thing you should know. Neither answered. He looked at Valera. I did not arrange our marriage. Valera frowned. I know your father did. Orenvale shook his head. No. Thurin's expression changed. What are you saying? Orenvale smiled faintly. Father never suggested Valera. Valera felt cold. Then who did? Orenvale looked directly at Thurin. I did. Silence. Valera stared at him. No. Yes. You said father ordered you. He approved it. That is not the same thing. No. Valera's stomach turned. Why? Orenvale's expression hardened again. You already know why. Thurin took one step forward. You married her to hurt me. Orenvale said nothing. That was answer enough. Valera looked at her husband. Really looked at him. And suddenly every humiliation felt different. The mistress at the wedding. The coldness. The possessiveness. The warnings about Thurin. This had never been a marriage to him. It had been revenge. You never wanted me, she whispered. Orenvale looked at her. No. The answer hurt even though she had known it. But you didn't want Thurin to have me either. His silence was worse than yes. Valera nodded slowly. Then she walked toward the door. Orenvale moved aside. Where are you going? She stopped beside him. To the king. His face changed. Valera. You wanted this marriage. She looked up at him. Now I want out of it. King Corvalan was still at breakfast when Valera entered his private dining room without being announced. 3 guards followed her in, apologizing profusely. Corvalan looked up from his tea. Valera stopped before the table. I want an annulment. One of the guards nearly choked. Corvalan stared at her. Thurin entered behind her. Then Orenvale's. The king slowly placed his cup down. I see. No, Valera said. I don't think you do. Orenvale's expression tightened. Valera. She turned on him. Be quiet. Thurin looked very close to smiling. Corvalan noticed. Perhaps someone should explain why all 3 of you have invaded my breakfast. Valera placed Thurin's letter on the table. Corvalan looked down at it. Then up. What is this? Evidence. Orenvale cursed quietly. Valera continued. Your son intercepted letters Thurin sent me 3 years ago. Corvalan's expression changed immediately. Which son? Valera stared at him. The king sighed. Orenvale. Yes. Corvalan looked at his younger son. Is this true? Orenvale did not answer. Orenvale. Yes. The king went still. Valera continued. He opened them, burned them, then wrote to Thurin and lied about me. Corvalan looked at Thurin. Thurin nodded. And, Valera said, he was the one who proposed our marriage. Corvalan's eyes narrowed. I am aware. Valera froze. Thurin stared at his father. You knew. I knew Orenvale suggested the match. Did you know why? Corvelin looked toward his younger son. No. Thurin's expression hardened. Corvelin leaned back. So tell me. Orenvale said nothing. Valera did. He wanted to hurt Thurin. The king's face became unreadable. By marrying you. Yes. Silence. Then Corvelin looked at Orenvale. Leave. Father. Leave. Orenvale did not move. The king's voice dropped. Before I have you removed. Orenvale turned and walked out. The doors closed. Valera stood silently. Corvelin looked at the letter again. Then at her wedding ring. Finally he said, an annulment is possible. Valera's breath caught. Thurin turned toward him. But. Of course there was a but. Corvelin folded his hands. This marriage is less than 2 days old. It has not been consummated. Valera's cheeks burned. Thurin suddenly found the wall very interesting. Corvelin continued as though he had not noticed. That simplifies matters considerably. Valera nodded. Then grant it. I can. Hope rose in her chest. But doing so immediately would create a political disaster. It died. Why? Your family's debts were settled as part of the marriage contract. Valera went pale. If the marriage is dissolved, your father's creditors may argue the agreement is void. Her stomach dropped. No, I can prevent that. She looked at him. How? By replacing the alliance with another. Thurin's expression changed. Valera noticed. Another marriage. Corvelin did not answer immediately. That was answer enough. Valera stared at him. No. The king looked almost amused. You haven't heard the proposal. I have heard enough proposals for one lifetime. Thurin coughed suspiciously. Valera glared at him. He looked away. Corvelin continued. The crown requires the alliance with your family. Valera folded her arms. And which unfortunate son have you chosen this time? The king looked at Thurin. Valera's heart stopped. Thurin stared back at his father. Corvelin said nothing. He didn't need to. Valera slowly turned toward Thurin. His expression was completely unreadable. The king leaned back in his chair. Perhaps, he said, we should discuss the possibility of correcting my younger son's mistake. Valera could only stare. Because suddenly the man she had spent 3 years believing she had lost was standing beside her. And the king was suggesting she marry him instead. Valera stared at King Corvelin. Surely she had misunderstood him. Marry Thurin. The king's expression remained perfectly calm. I said it was a possibility. That is not a possibility. Beside her, Thurin folded his arms. I agree. Valera turned toward him. You do. Thurin raised an eyebrow. You sound disappointed. I am not disappointed. Good. Good. Corvelin watched them both. Then sighed. You two are exhausting. Valera looked back at him. I married one prince 2 days ago, and now you're suggesting I marry another. When you phrase it that way, it does sound somewhat unfortunate. Somewhat. Thurin looked down, clearly trying not to laugh. Valera glared at him. This is not funny. No. His mouth twitched. Not at all. She turned back toward Corvelin. I want my marriage annulled. I do not want another husband assigned to me before the ink is dry. No one is assigning you anything. You just suggested your other son. I suggested a solution. I'm a woman, not a treaty. The amusement disappeared from Corvalin's face. I know. Valera paused. The king leaned forward. And perhaps that is where I failed you. She had not expected that. Neither had Thurin's. Corvalin looked toward the windows. When Orenvale suggested the marriage, I saw a political opportunity. Your family controls land along the western border. Your father's debts threatened that land. If another house acquired it, the balance among the noble families would have shifted. So you paid the debts? Yes. In exchange for me. Corvalin's expression tightened. In exchange for an alliance. To everyone but me, apparently. Silence. The king did not argue. Valera appreciated that much. Finally, Corvalin said, Your annulment will be granted. Valera's breath caught. No condition followed. She waited. Corvalin almost smiled. There is no but this time. You're certain? Yes. She felt something inside her loosen. What about my family? The crown will honor the original financial agreement. Valera stared at him. Why? Because my son deceived you before the marriage was ever proposed. The king's expression hardened. That makes the failure ours, not yours. For the first time since arriving at the palace, Valera felt as though someone with power had actually heard her. Thank you. Corvalin nodded. Then he looked at Thurin's. The rest is your problem. Thurin frowned. What does that mean? It means I am old enough to recognize when my presence is no longer necessary. Valera's cheeks warmed. Thurin looked irritated. Father. Corvalin picked up his tea. Go away. Valera and Thurin left the dining chamber together. For several minutes neither spoke. Servants passed them in the corridors. Guards bowed. Some nobles stared. Valera barely noticed. Her marriage was ending. 2 days. That was all it had lasted. She should have felt ashamed. Instead, she wanted to run outside and scream from relief. Thurin finally spoke. You're smiling. Valera touched her mouth. I am not. You are. Perhaps I'm happy. I haven't seen you happy since I returned. The softness in his voice made her smile disappear. They stopped beneath one of the tall arched windows. Rain slid down the glass. Thurin looked at her. Valera. She knew what was coming. No. I haven't said anything. I know what you're going to say. Do you? Yes. He stepped closer. Then tell me. Her heartbeat changed. Valera looked around. 2 guards stood at the end of the corridor. A servant disappeared around the corner. We shouldn't speak here. Thurin's eyes stayed on hers. Then where? She knew better. She absolutely knew better. The library. His eyebrow rose. The library. No one goes there this early. I do. That explains a great deal about you. He smiled. Lead the way. The royal library occupied almost an entire wing of the palace. 2 floors of books rose beneath a painted ceiling. Narrow balconies wrapped around the walls, reached by spiral staircases of dark iron. Valera loved it immediately. Rain darkened the tall windows. A fire burned quietly in the enormous stone hearth. No one else was there. Thurin closed the door behind them. Valera turned. Leave it open. He reopened it. Happy? Yes. He leaned against a table. I'm listening. Valera suddenly wished she had not brought him here. She walked toward the nearest bookshelf. There is nothing to discuss. Valera. The annulment isn't finished. I know. I am still legally Orenvale's wife. I know. And the entire palace already thinks something is happening between us. I know. She turned. Could you stop knowing everything? No. She stared at him. Thurin smiled. It irritated her. Mostly because she wanted to smile too. She looked away. We need distance. His smile disappeared. For how long? Until the annulment. And afterward. Valera's stomach tightened. That is precisely the conversation I don't want to have. Thurin moved away from the table. Why? Because everything has happened too quickly. 3 years is not quickly. We were apart for those 3 years. Because someone made certain we were. That doesn't erase them. No. His expression softened. But it changes what they meant. Valera said nothing. Thurin approached slowly. He stopped well before reaching her. I spent 3 years believing you had chosen my brother. I spent 3 years believing you had forgotten me. I didn't. I know that now. And I know you didn't choose him. She looked down. Then what are we supposed to do with that? Thurin answered immediately. Stop wasting time. Her eyes lifted. He held her gaze. No more missing letters, no more pretending, no more letting Orenvale decide what happens between us. Valera's heart began pounding. There is no between us. Thurin's expression barely changed. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Is it? Yes. He took one step closer. Valera did not move. Then tell me you feel nothing for me. She stared at him. That isn't fair. It's extremely fair. No, it isn't. Why? Because you know I can't. The words escaped. Silence. Valera closed her eyes. Wonderful. Thurin's voice softened. Valera. She turned away from him. I hate you. No, you don't. I could learn. I doubt it. She spun around. You are incredibly arrogant. So I've been told. Probably by many women. Mostly by you. That stopped her. He was smiling. She hated that smile. She loved that smile. And that was exactly the problem. Thurin. His expression became serious. I'm not asking you to marry me. Valera blinked. That sounded less insulting in my head. Despite everything, she laughed. Thurin laughed too. The tension between them broke for only a moment. Then he continued. I'm asking you not to decide our future today. Valera looked at him. When the annulment is finished, if you want nothing to do with me, I will accept it. His voice dropped. But make that decision because it's what you want, not because you're afraid of what the court will say. She swallowed. And if I don't want you to stay away? Thurin went very still. Valera immediately looked toward the shelves. I was speaking hypothetically. Of course. Stop looking at me like that. Like what? You know. He stepped closer. Valera backed into the bookshelf. Her breath caught. Thurin stopped immediately. He was close. Too close. But he did not touch her. Tell me to move. Valera looked into his eyes. She should. The words would be easy. Move. Leave. Go. Instead, she whispered, You're proving my point. What point? That you make everything difficult. I'm standing still. That is not helping. He smiled slightly. Valera pressed her lips together. Thurin's gaze dropped to them. Her heart slammed against her ribs. He looked back into her eyes. Neither moved. The silence became unbearable. Then a voice came from the doorway. So this is what an annulment looks like. Valera froze. Thurin's face hardened instantly. Orenvale stood in the entrance. And beside him, Maylis. Valera pushed away from the bookshelf. What is she doing here? Orenvale entered. I brought her back. Thurin stared at him. Father ordered her out of the palace. I know. Maylis stepped inside. She wore black now instead of crimson. Somehow it made her look even more dangerous. Valera looked at Orenvale. You're defying the king. Father has been wrong before. Frequently, Thurin said. Orenvale ignored him. His attention stayed on Valera. I heard about your request. You mean the annulment? His jaw tightened. Yes. It was granted. Maylis's eyes widened. Orenvale had apparently not told her that part. Granted, she repeated. Valera looked at her. Yes. Maylis turned toward Orenvale. You said he was considering it. He changed his mind. Interesting that you neglected to mention that. Not now, Maylis. Her expression darkened. Valera almost enjoyed watching them. Almost. Orenvale stepped toward her. You cannot do this. Valera stared at him. I already did. We are married. Temporarily. His face tightened. You think you can simply walk away? Yes. You gave vows. You gave them too. That silenced him. Valera continued. And then invited your mistress to the celebration. Maylis rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Valera turned. No one asked you. You keep using that word. What word? Mistress. Maylis's smile was thin. You say it as though Orenvale and I began after your marriage. Valera stared at her. That makes it worse. Maylis looked toward Orenvale. You haven't told her. Orenvale's face changed. Valera noticed. Told me what? Maylis. Orenvale's warning was immediate. She ignored him. For the first time, Valera saw genuine satisfaction in her eyes. He proposed to me. The room went quiet. Valera looked at Orenvale. What? Maylis crossed her arms. 8 months ago. Thurin's expression darkened. You were engaged. Privately. Orenvale spoke through clenched teeth. It was never formal. Maylis laughed. You gave me a ring. Valera stared at her husband. Every time she thought she understood the extent of his deception, another door opened. You intended to marry her. Orenvale looked away. Yes. And then you married me. My father would never have approved Maylis. So you used me. No. Valera laughed. Really? I had no choice. Thurin stepped forward. You always have a choice. Orenvale turned on him. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with him, Valera said. Orenvale looked at her. She hadn't intended to say it. But now that she had, she didn't regret it. You stole his letters because you hated him. Orenvale's face hardened. You lied to him about me. She stepped closer. You married me to keep us apart. Another step. And all while you were promising yourself to another woman. Orenvale stared at her. Valera removed the wedding ring from her finger. His eyes dropped to it. She held it between them. You want to know what our marriage meant. Then she placed the ring in his palm. This. Orenvale's fingers closed around it. Valera stepped back. Nothing. For once he had no answer. Maylis watched him. Something changed in her expression. Perhaps she was finally realizing that the man she had fought so hard to possess was not much of a prize. Valera turned toward the door. Orenvale grabbed her wrist. Thurin moved instantly. Let her go. Orenvale tightened his grip. Stay out of this. Valera looked down at his hand. Then up at him. Release me. No. Thurin stepped forward. I won't ask again. Orenvale looked at his brother. Or what? Thurin's expression became frighteningly calm. Find out. Both of you stop. Valera pulled against Orenvale's grip. Let go. He did not. Thurin grabbed Orenvale's arm. Orenvale shoved him. Thurin shoved back. A table crashed sideways. Books fell. Maylis screamed. Valera stumbled away. Orenvale swung first. His fist connected with Thurin's jaw. Thurin staggered. Then looked back at him. Oh, Valera whispered. That was a mistake. Thurin hit him. Hard. Orenvale crashed into the table. What are you doing? Valera rushed between them. Thurin stopped immediately. Orenvale did not. He lunged. Thurin caught him. Both brothers slammed into a bookshelf. Valera jumped back as several enormous books fell around them. Guards. Footsteps thundered down the corridor. 2 royal guards entered. Then 4 more. They pulled the brothers apart. Thurin had blood at the corner of his mouth. Orenvale's nose was bleeding. King Corvalan appeared moments later. He stopped in the doorway, looked at the broken furniture, looked at Orenvale, then Thurin, then Valera. His face showed absolute exhaustion. I leave you alone for 20 minutes. Nobody spoke. Corvalan pointed at Orenvale. You, my chambers. Then Thurin. You, physician. I'm fine. You're bleeding on my carpet. Thurin looked down. So is he. Orenvale is about to have considerably larger problems. The guards escorted Orenvale away. Maylis started after him. Corvalan stopped her. You. She froze. I distinctly remember telling you to leave my palace. Maylis swallowed. Yes, Your Majesty. And yet here you are. Orenvale brought me. Corvalan looked toward the corridor where his son had disappeared. Of course he did. He rubbed his forehead. Escort Lady Maylis from the grounds. 2 guards approached. Maylis's eyes widened. Your Majesty. And this time, if she returns without my permission, arrest her. Maylis went pale. She looked at Valera. Whatever hatred had been there before was gone. Now there was fear. Then the guards took her away. Corvalan sighed. I need stronger wine. He walked off. Valera stood among the fallen books. Thurin touched his split lip. She looked at him. You're an idiot. I know. You hit him. He hit me first. You're 31 years old. That seems unrelated. Valera stared at him. Then, against every reasonable instinct, she started laughing. Thurin looked offended. This is funny. No. She covered her mouth. Yes. I was defending you. You destroyed a bookshelf. He grabbed you. The laughter disappeared. Thurin's expression changed. He should never put his hands on you. Valera became quiet. Thurin moved closer. Not as close as before. Just enough. Did he hurt you? She looked at her wrist. There was a faint red mark. No. Thurin saw it. His jaw tightened. Thurin, I'm fine. His eyes met hers. Let me see. Valera hesitated, then held out her hand. He took it carefully. His touch was gentle, completely different from Orenvale's grip. His thumb brushed beside the red mark. Valera watched him. Something inside her softened. Thank you. Thurin looked up. For punching my brother. No. A tiny smile appeared. Though I haven't entirely decided how I feel about that. Take your time. For believing me. His smile disappeared. There was never a moment when I didn't. Valera swallowed. Thurin still held her hand. Neither seemed particularly interested in correcting that. Then Valera noticed the blood at his lip. You really are bleeding. I've suffered worse. Sit. He raised an eyebrow. That sounded suspiciously like an order. It was. Thurin sat on the edge of the table. Valera found a clean handkerchief in her sleeve. She dampened it with water from a pitcher, then stood between his knees. Thurin became very quiet. Valera touched the cloth to his lip. He winced. Oh, don't be dramatic. I was punched. You're a soldier. Soldiers still have lips. Valera laughed softly. Hold still. He did. Her fingers rested lightly against his jaw. Thurin watched her. Valera tried very hard not to notice. It didn't work. The room suddenly seemed far quieter than before. She lowered the cloths. You'll survive. I was worried. Neither moved. Thurin's hands rested on the table beside her. He could have touched her. He didn't. Valera looked at his mouth, then immediately regretted it. His voice dropped. Valera. Her eyes lifted. Yes. If you keep looking at me like that. Her heart began to race. Like what? You know exactly like what. She should step away. Instead, she remained between his knees. Maybe I don't. Thurin leaned slightly closer. Not enough to kiss her. Enough to ask. Valera's breath caught. This was the moment. The one they had lost 3 years ago. The one she had imagined far too many times. Thurin stopped. His forehead almost touched hers. But he waited. The choice was hers. Valera closed her eyes, then pulled back. Thurin immediately let her go. She saw the disappointment in his face. But he did not argue. I can't. I knows. Not while I'm still married. I knows. Valera looked at him. But when I'm not. She stopped. Thurin's eyes changed. A slow smile appeared. When you're not. Her cheeks warmed. Don't make me regret saying it. I wouldn't dream of it. You are absolutely dreaming of it. Constantly. Thurin. He laughed. Valera shook her head and headed toward the door. Where are you going? To find someone to repair the bookshelf you destroyed. We destroyed. I never touched it. You inspired the destruction. She looked over her shoulder. Goodbye, Thurin. Valera. She paused. His smile was gone. When the annulment is final. Her heart jumped. Yes. He looked directly into her eyes. I am going to kiss you. Valera stood frozen. Then she smiled. You seem very certain. I've already waited 3 years. She turned before he could see how deeply she was blushing. But halfway through the doorway she stopped. Without looking back, she said, "Then you'd better make it worth the wait," and walked away. She tried to sound calm. "It's finished. Yes. And I am no longer your brother's wife." "No." Another step. Valera's pulse raced. "You promised something." Thurin stopped. "I remember." She swallowed. "Well." He looked almost amused. "Well, what?" Valera stared at him. "Thurin." "Yes. You are enjoying this far too much." "Possibly." She crossed her arms. "I could leave." "You could." She didn't. Thurin's expression softened. He reached for her slowly. Valera watched his hand. This time she did not step away. His fingers brushed her cheek. Her eyes closed for just a moment. 3 years. 3 years of wondering. Waiting. Believing she had meant nothing. When she opened her eyes again, Thurin was closer. "Tell me to stop." Valera shook her head. "No." His thumb brushed her cheek. "No, stop." She smiled faintly. "No, don't stop." That was all he needed. Thurin kissed her. Softly at first. Almost cautiously. Like he still did not quite believe she was real. Valera's hands caught the front of his coat. Then she kissed him back. Everything they had never said seemed to exist in that moment. The missed letters. The lost years. The garden 3 summers ago. The wedding. The anger. The waiting. Thurin pulled back slightly. His forehead rested against hers. Valera was breathless. "That," she whispered, "took you long enough." He laughed quietly. "I was interrupted the first time. You've been using that excuse for 3 years. I think it remains valid." She smiled, then kissed him again. This time there was no hesitation. And for the first time in years, Valera was not thinking about duty. Or gossip. Or princes. Or promises. She was simply choosing him. For 3 days the palace was unusually quiet. Too quiet. Orenvale had not appeared at dinner. Maylies had not returned. And Valera had begun to believe the worst was finally behind them. She should have known better. On the 4th evening the palace bells rang. Not the ceremonial bells. The alarm bells. Valera rushed into the corridor as guards ran toward the western wing. "What happened?" Tessa appeared behind her. "I don't know." Then a soldier shouted from the stairwell. "The prince is gone." Valera's stomach dropped. "Which prince?" The soldier hesitated. "Prince Orenvale." Thurin appeared at the opposite end of the corridor. Their eyes met. He had already heard. "What did he take?" Thurin asked. The guard swallowed. "A horse, 2 guards loyal to his household. And the royal seal." Thurin cursed. Valera frowned. Why would he take the seal? Thurin looked at her. To issue orders in father's name. A second guard arrived, breathless. "Your Highness." Thurin turned. "We found this in Prince Orenvale's chamber." The guard held out a letter. Valera recognized the handwriting. Maylies. Thurin opened it. His expression changed as he read. "What?" He handed it to Valera. The message was short. "Meet me at the old western estate. I found the remaining letters." Valera's blood went cold. He went after them. Thurin nodded. Or he thinks he did. Valera looked at him. You don't believe her. I believe Maylis wants something. An hour later, Thurin was preparing to leave. Valera found him in the courtyard, fastening his sword. You're going after him? Yes, I'm coming. No. She stared at him. That wasn't a request. Neither was my answer. Thurin. He turned toward her. If Maylis actually has the remaining letters, they belong to me. This is no longer about letters. Then what is it about? Orenvale stole the royal seal. If he uses it, he could order troops, seize property, arrest people. Including me. Thurin went silent. That was answer enough. Valera stepped closer. He still blames me. Yes. Then I should be there. Absolutely not. You cannot lock me in the palace. I hadn't considered it until now. She glared. Thurin sighed. Valera, please. The word softened her. He rarely said it. This could be dangerous. She lowered her voice. And if something happens to you because of me, it isn't because of you. It started with me. No. Thurin took her hands. It started with his jealousy. Valera looked at him. Then come back. A faint smile touched his mouth. I intend to. You'd better. He kissed her forehead. Then mounted his horse. He returned before midnight. Valera heard the gates open and ran downstairs. Thurin entered with 6 guards. Orenvale walked between them. His wrists were bound. Maylis was nowhere to be seen. Valera stopped. Thurin looked exhausted, but unharmed. Relief hit her so strongly she almost stumbled. Orenvale saw it, then saw the way she looked at Thurin. His expression twisted. Still choosing him, Valera said nothing. King Corvalan descended the stairs behind her. The entire entrance hall went silent. The king looked at Orenvale's bound hands. You stole my seal. Orenvale laughed bitterly. You stole everything else from me. Corvalan's face hardened. I gave you more chances than you deserved. You gave him everything. He nodded toward Thurin. There it is again, Thurin said quietly. Orenvale ignored him. He looked at Valera. She lied. Whose? Maylis. Of course. There were no letters. Valera almost felt sorry for him. Almost. She wanted money, Orenvale continued. She said she'd give me the letters if I helped her leave the kingdom. And you believed her? Valera asked. Orenvale looked away. Thurin answered. He took treasury gold. Corvalan closed his eyes. Orenvale. His son finally looked ashamed. Too late. Far too late. Corvalan turned to the guards. Take him to the North Tower. Orenvale's head snapped up. You're imprisoning me. Until I decide what to do with you. I am your son. You are also a prince who stole the royal seal and treasury gold. Orenvale struggled against the guards. Father. Corvalan did not move. The guards dragged him toward the stairs. Then Orenvale looked at Valera one final time. You'll regret him. Valera stepped forward. No. Orenvale stopped. She held his gaze. The only thing I regret is allowing you to make me believe I was powerless. The guards took him away. Later that night, Valera found Thurin on the balcony outside the library. Moonlight covered the gardens. She walked beside him. Where is Maylis? Gone. Gone. She took Orenvale's money and disappeared before he arrived. Valera laughed quietly. I almost admire her. Thurin looked at her. Almost. Very almost. He smiled. Then the silence became comfortable. Valera leaned against the stone railing. What happens to Orenvale? Father will strip him of most of his titles. Most. He is still his son. Valera nodded. And us? Thurin looked at her. What about us? She smiled. You're terrible at pretending not to know. I enjoy hearing you say things. That sounds dangerous. It usually is. Valera turned toward him. No arranged marriage. Thurin's expression softened. No's. No political bargains. No's. No one deciding for me. Never. She stepped closer. If I ever marry again. Thurin went completely still. It will be because I choose to. His eyes stayed on hers. And if that choice happened to be me. Valera smiled. You would be unbearably pleased with yourself. Absolutely. She laughed. Then Thurin kissed her. This time there was no scandal waiting outside the door. No husband. No stolen letters. No 3 years between them. Only the two of them beneath the moonlight. And for once nothing interrupted. 3 months later, the palace gardens were in full bloom. Valera stood beneath the same flowering trees where, years earlier, Thurin had almost kissed her for the first time. Back then, they had been too afraid to say what they wanted. Now there was nothing left unsaid. Orenvale had been stripped of his royal duties and sent to a distant estate under guard. He would keep his name and enough wealth to live comfortably, but he would never again hold authority in the kingdom. King Corvelin had called it mercy. Thurin had called it more than he deserved. Maylis was never found. Rumours claimed she had crossed the border with Orenvale's stolen gold and changed her name. Valera hoped she stayed gone. As for Valera, she had returned home for several weeks after the annulment. Not because she wanted to leave Thurin, because she needed to know that when she came back, it was entirely her choice. No debts. No king. No marriage contract. Just her. And now she was back. Thurin waited beneath the flowering tree. He wore no crown that afternoon. No formal coat. Nothing that made him look like the future king. He was simply Thurin. The man who had written 7 letters. The man who had waited 3 years. The man she had never truly forgotten. You're late, he said. Valera smiled. 3 years late, apparently. That was mostly your husband's fault. Former husband. My favorite kind. She laughed, then noticed the small velvet box in his hand. Her smile disappeared. Thurin. He immediately held up his other hand. Before you panic, I remember the rules. What rules? No arranged marriage. Valera crossed her arms. Good. No political bargains. Very good. No king deciding for you. Excellent. And absolutely no proposing simply because someone thinks it would be convenient. Valera looked at the box again. And Thurin stepped closer. And if you say no, nothing changes. Her expression softened. You'll still love me. Unfortunately. She laughed. Very unfortunately. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Not enormous. Not covered in royal jewels. A simple gold band set with a dark green stone. Valera stared at it. I remembered your favorite color. Her eyes lifted to his. You remembered that. I remembered everything. Thurin took her hand. Then, for the first time since she had known him, the crown prince looked nervous. Valera almost smiled. Are you frightened? Terrified? Good. He laughed, then became serious. Valera, I don't want an alliance. Her eyes burned. I don't want your family's land. He squeezed her hand. I don't want you because father approves. He stepped closer. I want the woman who insults me when I'm arrogant. That happens frequently. I'm aware. The woman who refuses to be rescued. Also frequently. Thurin smiled. The woman who waited for letters that never came. Valera's smile faded. And the woman I should have kissed beneath this tree 3 years ago. He lowered himself onto one knee. Valera covered her mouth. Thurin, this time I am asking you. Not her father. Not the king. Not the court. Her. Valera, will you marry me? She looked down at him. For a moment, she thought about everything that had brought them here. The wedding she had never wanted. Maylis walking into the ballroom in crimson. Orenvale humiliating her before the entire court. The stolen letters. 3 wasted years. And finally, a choice. Her choice. Valera smiled. Yes. Thurin stood so quickly she laughed. He slipped the ring onto her finger, then kissed her beneath the flowering tree, exactly where he should have kissed her 3 years earlier. When they finally pulled apart, Valera rested her forehead against his. You know, she whispered, our story would have been considerably simpler if you had kissed me the first time. Thurin smiled. Probably. And written better protected letters. Definitely. And chosen a brother with fewer issues. That one was unfortunately outside my control. Valera laughed. Then he kissed her again. They married 6 months later. Not in the enormous royal cathedral. Valera refused. Instead, the ceremony took place in the palace gardens, beneath white flowering trees. Her family sat in the front row. King Corvellan cried and denied it afterward. Thurin never let him forget. And when Valera walked toward the man waiting beneath the flowers, there were no debts being erased. No political contracts being signed. No whispered bargains between powerful men. There was only a woman walking toward the person she had chosen. Years later, people would tell stories about Crown Prince Thurin and the woman who eventually became his queen. Some versions called it scandalous. Others called it forbidden. A few even claimed Valera had stolen one brother from another. She always laughed at that version. Because the truth was much simpler. Orenvale had tried to take away her choice. And in the end, that was the one thing he could never steal. Valera chose Thurin. And this time, no one stood between them.